Well, her name is synonymous with the Underground Railroad, but most people don't realize that Harriet Tubman was born into slavery on Maryland's Eastern Shore. Now a new museum aims to change that.
Well, here we see Tubman as a young girl, perhaps 5 or 6 years old, and she was left at home to care for her baby brother, Moses.
As a child, Harriet Tubman was known as Minty Ross, born to slave parents in the 1820s. Those formative years were what shaped her to become one of the nation's most well-known abolitionists. Now people can learn about her early life by visiting the Harriet Tubman Underground Railroad Visitor Center in Church Creek, Maryland.
What we have is a landscape and a viewscape that is largely reminiscent of Tubman's time here. They can expect to learn more about Tubman's formative years here on the Eastern Shore. They can experience a rescue mission on the Underground Railroad, and they can become inspired by her work as a freedom fighter, humanitarian leader, and liberator.
The architect designed the facility to reflect Tubman's escape to freedom. You enter on the south side, where the exhibits are dark and morose. Step out of the theater and you see a slave auction on the Dorchester County Courthouse steps.
And it's a mother being auctioned off, and her husband and child are in the audience, as well as men, women, and children. And it was important to include the fact that families participated in this. Well, as we pass into this pavilion, we reach a turning point in the story. We see Tubman standing at the gate at Poplar Neck, and she's closing the gate behind Dr. Anthony Thompson.
She sings a goodbye song, her way to communicate to friends and family that she's leaving.
So in this section, we want to simulate a rescue mission on the Underground Railroad.
This is the darkest part of the museum, where nightfall is simulated so visitors can feel like they're actually on one of Tubman's rescue missions. As you make your way north, more natural light begins to filter in, simulating more positive energy through the journey.
At one point over here, we looked at her family, took her back, and she decided that that wasn't for her and that she wanted to be free, and she left without everybody, which is amazing in itself that she had the courage to get up and go, and knowing that she was leaving everybody behind, but eventually came back and took her family members to freedom, so that's empowering.
This is a replica of the small fodder house just outside of Tubman's father's cabin. It's the place where Harriet, her 3 brothers, Robert, Henry, and Ben's fiance, all waited to make their escape to freedom. And as they waited, they would often peer through these boards, and they would see that their mother's worried face as she went up and down the road looking for her 3 sons who were supposed to be home for Christmas dinner.
When Tubman was working with General Montgomery during the Civil War, and they had recently freed in excess of 700 enslaved people, and there was utter chaos. And General Montgomery turned to Tubman and he said, "Can you calm your people?" And Tubman responded in that these weren't her people. She had never met them before. But then she stood up and she started singing, and she sang, and it calmed all of the recently freed people.
She was the first woman to lead an army during the Civil War, and that's very powerful. And it gives me that her story really inspires me to push through the difficult times in my life.
And what it took, how dangerous it was, it's just really unimaginable. It's touching, and it's pretty emotional.
And the museum is located about 15 minutes south of Cambridge, just a short side trip on your way to Ocean City.